Right, on the page 164 part of this worksheet, for each scatter plot, describe the association shown as linear or nonlinear. If no association is shown, state that. If the association is linear, identify it as positive or negative. Now, they gave you several different words they wanted you to use if possible, and no association. So if you look at number 1, what you should have noticed is that the points are very random, which means there is no association. If there is no association, it cannot be linear or nonlinear, and it cannot be positive or negative. On number 2, you should notice that your points kind of cluster together to form a line, and that line is starting low and ending high, which makes it positive. And since it is linear, we will write linear. Number 3. The scatter plot shows the lengths of several babies and the numbers representing the months in which they were born. Which best describes the association, if any, that is shown? When you look at this one, what you should notice, it is very random. When you think about the situation, does the month you were born in have anything to do with how long you would have been when you was born? This one is no association. Number 4. The scatter plot shows the ages of appliances and the cost of repairing them, which best describes the association, if any, that is shown. Now, when you look at this one, you should notice that all of our points, they are spread apart, but the general trend does show you that they're increasing. Now, it's a very wide line, but it is a line. Starts low, ends high, so it is positive. Number 5, this is the one that kind of stumped everybody. Bivariate data refers to blank of the linked numerical observations. Bivariate means 2. So we had 2 types of linked numerical observations, or 2 sets, not types. Let's go with sets. Bivariate means 2 variables, and 2 sets makes this make sense. If data in a scatter plot form a straight band, the plot shows linear association. Okay, I had a lot of you trying to put positive and negative. Okay, they wasn't talking about the trend as much as they were, is it linear versus nonlinear. Number 7, if data in a scatter plot are randomly scattered, the plot shows no association. Number 8, describe the association shown, if any, by the scatter plot in as many ways as possible using terms such as linear or nonlinear, positive or negative. And then you had to identify any outliers. When you look at number 8, you should notice we are increasing and linear in the first half, and then it switches and it becomes decreasing and a different line. Or, as a whole, we're going up, we're going down, it's nonlinear. There's no need to describe using positive or negative because this one is both. I don't see any outliers in this one. On number 9, you should be able to see that we are starting low and ending high, and it does seem to form a line. So it's going to be linear, it's going to be positive, and we do have an outlier right here. Number 10. The table shows the number of minutes 10 shoppers spent in a supermarket and the total amount each spent during that shopping trip. On the grid below, create a scatter plot using the data in the table. Then describe the association shown, if any, in as many ways as possible and identify any outliers. Now, we had to make it from 10 minutes to 50 minutes, and minutes is going to go on our x-axis, so we put minutes across the x, and we've got to make it from 10 to 50. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. If I go by 5s, I can fit everything on there. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And then on my total spent, that's going to be my y. Total spent, If it asks you to label your graph, you have to do this stuff. Y'all are losing points on quizzes and tests for not labeling. The total, we're going from, I see 20 to 180. So we're going from 20 to 180. And I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 lines. So if I was to go to 200, I could go 20 with each line. So let's go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, and 200. Then I'm going to plot. I've got 10 and 20, 30 and 80, 50 and 120, 20 and 40, 60. Oh, I didn't see 60. 60 is going to be way over here. I missed that totally. And it should be at 150, 30 and 60, 40 and 90, 70. Crap. Really did not do well with this graph. 70 is going to be way over here, and it's up at 180, 60 and 20, and then 50 and 140. Now, what I see is we are in a line and we are increasing. So I'm going to have linear positive. And when I look for outliers, I see one right here. Questions on this page? Describe the association shown by the scatter plot and explain why the trend line shown for each scatter plot is a good fit for the data. Number one, they've already drawn a trend line for you, and you're explaining why it's a good fit. The best explanation would be because it is centered through the data. You could have also said there is a similar amount of points above and below the line. You could have said that the points are about equal distances from the line. Number two, we've got another line through the center of all of this, ignoring this outlier. So again, it's centered. And the outlier is ignored. Remember, we kind of want to ignore those outliers so it doesn't skew our line. Consider each pair of identical scatter plots, then circle the letter of the plot that shows the better trend line and explain your choice. So we're choosing on number 3 between A and B. You want the one that goes through the center of the data, and on number 3 it would be A. B goes through the center, but it's accounting for an outlier, and it's skewing your line. Explain your choice. A is more centered. B is using an outlier. On number 4, choosing the best line, A is the right tilt, but all of the points are below it, so it's no good. B is more centered. So we could put that B is more centered. Write true or false for each statement. If it is false, rewrite the statement so it is true. A straight line is a good model for a scatter plot that shows a non-linear association. This one is false. And you would need to change this from non-linear to linear. Number 6. A trend line should always pass through at least 2 actual data points on a scatter plot. This is also false. A good trend line should pass through at least, let's see, should pass through at least 2 points on a scatter plot when possible. It's not always going to work. You want it to work if it will. If you can make it work, it's great. If you can't use 2 points, then you don't. Okay, don't feel pressured to use 2 points. Number 7, a trend line will never include a point that is an outlier for a data set. This is true. Okay, we always want to ignore those outliers. Number 8, the scatter plot shows the number of times different popular movies were rented and the number of weeks since the release of each movie. Is the line drawn for the a good model for the data? If not, draw a better one. This is not a good model because it is way too low. Every other point is above it. And to draw a better model, I want to go through the center of the data and ignore any outliers. I don't have to use 2 points. I can if it works. And I'm going to draw my line here. And my line goes through the middle. Please do not feel like your line has to pass through the origin, because that's just not so. Please do not feel like you have to use 2 points. You can. It's good if you can, but sometimes it will not work. Number 9. Scatterplot shows the height and weights of players on a professional basketball team. Draw a line of best fit for the data. Based on your line, how would you expect a professional basketball player who is 77 inches tall to weigh 140 pounds? Now, when I draw my line, I'm trying to center the data. I'm not trying to pass through the origin, okay? Sometimes it will, and it's okay. Doesn't matter. But it does not have to. So I want my line to try to give me as much residual distance above and below. So I'm going to go here. Now yours might have been a little steeper, and that's okay too. Okay, it just needs to go through the center. They're not all going to match. They're going to be a little bit different. Now based on my line, I want to know the player is 77 inches tall. So I'll go over here to 77. I'm going to track up to the line, and I'm going to see that I would expect them to be about 200 pounds. So, no. I expect 200 pounds. 140 pounds is just not enough for someone that's that tall.